So I want you to just think in your head of the person you want to spend the rest of your life with and be happy with. And if you didn't think of yourself, well, let's talk about it. What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah. How are you guys doing? um, Man, it's been last week was definitely one of those things of like things literally change overnight. Things can literally change overnight, and it always kind of happens like that in a very big way. But I booked a TV show. Um, and this is kind of crazy. I don't even think I can talk about it yet. Yeah, but I booked a TV show, and spent a couple of days on set. It was amazing. It was beautiful, and it was so surreal because this time on set. Well, first of all, SAG just got back from strike. Like the union, we just got back from strike, like literally 2 weeks ago, and to go right into like booking something, it's pretty crazy. Was not expecting that, just because of like the artist journey is very, oh man, it's like hills and valleys constantly. But I thought what was so cool about this time around was that while I was on set, I was also taking clients, right? I was having sessions with my clients, and I loved that realization, right? I was still working while I was working, and doing everything I love, like literally at the same time. It was so cool. It was such a like, I don't know how to explain the feeling for myself, but it was just truly a moment for me to just sit there and think about life leading up into this moment. And I always do whenever, there's a project. I just gotta take a pause when I can, right? Because production is a very interesting place to be. It's also like depending on what role you're playing, like in production, whether you're the director, cinematographer, AD, actor, wardrobe, art department. Like it's all very different experiences, so different. And myself, like being, a PA, being DP, right? Um, Being AD. I've played a lot of roles on set, and this time I was acting, which is what like my primary um, role is. It's just a different feeling. It's a different feeling. And the entire time I was thinking about, relationship, oddly enough, but in a very interesting way, like thinking about relationship and also thinking about the breakup. And I've been thinking about that all this week. I'm like, how am I going to talk about this? You are your longest relationship. I've said this many of times. You are your longest relationship. And your longest breakup will be all the things that prevent you from understanding the importance and the significance of your relationship with yourself. Your longest breakup will be, oh man, dismantling certain complexes you have, right? Certain barriers around your self worth, your ideal circumstances, your ideal partner. And when those things don't work out, how you attribute it to yourself. Like your longest breakup will be getting rid of certain habits, right? Self-limiting beliefs, poor discipline, patterns, characteristics. Your longest breakup will be moving out of spaces of comfort and seeking something that's a little bit more progressive, right? You are your longest relationship, and to keep that relationship intact in the healthiest way, you will go through a lot of breakups. A lot of breakups, you know, with other people, not with parts of yourself. I don't subscribe to the whole thing, you know, you have to cut off the part of you. There's that quote of like, you know, you can't just cut people off who've done you wrong. You have to cut off the person. You have to cut off the part of you um, that allowed it to happen. And it's like, no, because you are literally rejecting yourself the same way you are persecuting the people who did it to you. You are no better than the person that did it now, right? And instead of cutting that person off and being like, oh yeah, you were weak, you were this, you didn't do this right, whatever, is like, how about you embrace them and be like, hey, I know at one point in time you were seeking the company of these people, these individuals, and it didn't turn out well. And I'm sorry, right? I know you needed, or I know you were seeking, insert whatever. I know that's what you were doing. And maybe you didn't do it in the best way or the healthiest way because you didn't have the tools and knowledge, or you just didn't want to take the responsibility of doing it. However, I recognize this is what you needed. So now I'm going to do my best to give that to you. Right? Break up with the idea of always kind of like kicking your back in while you're already down. It does not work. You can't punish yourself into perseverance. You can't punish yourself into progress. You can't do it. Right? Because all that happens is you now create this dysfunction, but also this dynamic with yourself where nothing you do is ever good enough, and you're always rushing to the next thing. This was probably the first time in a long time where I was on set and I wasn't so worried and pressed about, oh man, when's my next booking? Where's my next project? Right? Because a lot of times as actors is like you're only as good as your next role, right? And then you constantly exist in that cycle where your identity is tied to your wins. Your identity isn't tied to just who you are becoming as a person, right? And I think for me, I've been building over the years. I've just been building so many different things that I enjoy that are parts of me, right? And in turn, it's just allowed me to strengthen my relationship with myself because I do understand Isaiah even more, right? I understand what he likes, what he dislikes, what stresses him out, what his principles are, um, why things bother him. And I'm referring to Isaiah as a third person just because it's like that's my relationship with this guy, right? Getting into the crux of who I am as a person has allowed me to kind of like give myself permission to be multiple things at one time. And last week was truly, man, a glaring reminder in the best way of like, hey, this is where you are in life and this is your ability to do all the things. And it's so cool, y'all. It was so cool. Such a cool just moment for myself. Um, and, while I was on session, I was, talking to my clients. And they were ecstatic. I love my clients. Sweetie pies. But it was just so cool and so surreal and just an experience, right? Just truly an experience that I can't fully, uh, I don't know, I guess, emote, but nonetheless, something that's so important. And again, a reminder of like, you are your longest relationship, and your longest breakup will be all the things that keep you from having a healthy, concise, consistent relationship with yourself. Right? And breakups suck. Any way you spend it, breakups suck. Um, they really do. They are not fun. And I'm not even just talking about romantic breakups, right? Um, Professional breakups are crazy. Friendship breakups hit so different, right? I don't care who you are. Um, if you have people in your life that you care about and you guys have to go separate ways for one reason or another, if you care about that person, it should bother you. If you genuinely care about that person, it should bother you. Okay. And whether it's necessary and it's permanent, or it's space taken and there's potential repair later, either way, it should bother you. If the person matters to you, it should not be easy. That's my take on it. So it's like a lot of times when people are like, yeah, I feel stupid and all of this, that I still care about this person. I'm like, why do you feel stupid? For what? The hell? You're having a human experience, right? You cared about this person. It bothers you. That makes sense. It's on brand. Let it hit. Let that thing move through you. Because if you do the opposite where you're like, yeah, I feel stupid, I'm so embarrassed or whatever, again, you are creating this dynamic in yourself, with yourself, that you are not allowed to feel, right? You should be void of all emotions just because a relationship, well, once a relationship no longer exists, the feelings for that person or their significance doesn't exist either. And that is not the case, right? That is not the case. And if a person does move that way, well, it goes to show how transactional they are. Okay. If people don't care about the relationships they walk away from, well, that's just them. But if you do care, it's all right to explore and be like, well, why does this matter to me? Or this person mattered to me and it still bothers me. Why is that? And it doesn't need to be a bad thing. What was the significance of this relationship with this person? I think it's a beautiful thing. Me personally, it's like if something does bother me to that effect, and it really does bother me, right? I'm like, that person meant a lot to me. That's all good. That person meant a lot to me. I'm cool with that, right? Because I think a lot of times people think that they have to do something about it, right? Oh, this person means a lot to me, so by design we should be in a relationship. Not necessarily. If you guys are not taking care of each other and you guys are not treating each other well, no, you don't need to be in a relationship with each other. You don't. Unless you guys are intentionally looking to be in a healthy connection with one another. Again, not just romantic partnerships, anyone. If the desire is not to improve the relationship and or repair, you don't need to be in connection, right? Because it doesn't do anything. If anything, it will make you'll start to resent that person and or they start resenting you, right? The value diminishes and then the person in themselves, you just become numb to them. And that's not good, right? Don't wait for people to be bad people to want better for yourself. You don't have to do that. And not everybody's a bad person, right? That's also not true. And you're not always a bad person, okay? So when you have these moments in life, and you do have these wins, even then, the question of like, do I deserve this? If you do that, why are you working so hard to be better in life if when you do receive better, you don't appreciate it or embrace it? Like what's the goal then? What's the point? Okay? What is the point of doing all that you do if when you do it and you get the results of that, you don't appreciate it, you don't appreciate yourself, and you don't lean into it? What's the point? Ask yourself that. What is the point? Why do I work so hard if when the hard work is completed and is the results come, why do I condemn myself? Who does that help? I can promise you when you are self-deprecating, it helps no one. And the reason why I say that is because if you are self-deprecated, right, and you devalue yourself, for one, you create a complex in your head that's not healthy. Secondly, you don't allow other people to show up in the relationship with you authentically because it's not your truest self. You're minimizing who you are in order for other people to feel comfortable. Now, if you start to become more of who you are and your relationships dynamics start to change, well, that's an indicator. Some people like you when you don't like yourself. Some people like you until you start to like yourself. Your longest relationship is you. And your longest breakup will be everything that kind of keeps you away from you in the healthiest way possible. And I stress healthy because there's a difference between, being self absorbed, right? And very egotistical, very prideful, right? Very hyper individualistic. All the things that kind of throw up a middle finger to everybody else and is like, oh, it's all about me. It's always about me. Boundaries. Da, 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 da. No, 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 no. That's not the same thing at all. Not the same thing. Even somebody who's highly self righteous in a weird way, they have shown you that they themselves, um, it's an armor, right? Because they are not necessarily seeing people as people, they're seeing people as beneath them. You can have standards and recognize, oh, yeah, me and this person don't rock. We're not on the same level in that regard, but it doesn't mean you see that person as less. You just recognize that this person is different. It's a very different way. Like, if you can conceptualize it, there are people who see other people as beneath them. And then there are people who just see other people as who they are, individuals, and that they don't align. And they don't feel the need to lower themselves so the other person can kind of like climb their wall. You know what I'm saying? I'm referring to standards. But a person that's healed or working on their healing or their growth or whatever isn't telling everybody else how healed they are and how healed the other people are not. They're not doing that. They're working on themselves. And it shows. Okay? Breakups are hard, but it will be necessary. If you want better and you want healthier connections and all that other stuff, you have to break up with the things, right? The habits, the patterns, the belief system, all the things that keep you from having that. Not necessarily break up with yourself. You can't do that. You can never escape yourself. People try to, right? They try to escape themselves in relationships and substances, right? In their work. But you cannot escape yourself. And once you accept that and you stop running, you'll kind of turn around and see yourself instead. Okay? And other people are going to start to look different to you, right? They're going to be less desirable. The reason why is because it's like, that doesn't really feel good. That doesn't feel good. Okay? Even like your professional endeavors, like your career pursuits, might start to look a little bit differently. You start to figure out more of what you love. And it shows. And it shows. So at the beginning of this episode, I asked you, what does your ideal relationship look like? Who would you want to spend the rest of your life with? And if it's not yourself, why? Just something to think about, y'all. This was a good week for me, or last week was a good week for me to really process and think about it and really um, just unpack and be so grateful, right? I could be anywhere else doing a lot of other things, but I'm doing me instead. And it can be complicated, it can be stressful, it could be overwhelming, it could drain the hell out of me. But it's truly one of my most favorite things. I love getting to know myself more because it also allows me to understand people to a certain degree more. It's a beautiful thing, y'all. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, just something to think about. Put in your back pocket. I hope you guys have an amazing week. And I want you to ask yourself, what am I willing to break up with a little bit this week? What does that look like? You can't abandon yourself, so stop trying. And you shouldn't want to. Okay. Get in the habit of kind of recognizing who you are, who you perceive yourself to be, right? Who you want to be. They're all kind of the same person. But you just have to learn to value all of them. Okay. That's all I got for you guys. Hope you have an amazing week. The holidays are here, so happy holidays, happy Hanukkah. I think that started recently. Happy Hanukkah. What holidays are in? I was about to say what holidays are in Halloween. What holidays are in December? You got Hanukkah, you got Christmas, you got Kwanzaa. I think I might be missing a couple. But I hope the holiday season is treating you guys right. Okay? Hope it's really, really, really leaning into you. And you have some moments to reflect. Got a couple of weeks left in the new year. Start now. Okay? Start today. And go from there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take flight.